What has helped you all the most when staging?
I think for me, it's just been practice. You learn over a period of time what works for you and what you like the look of. And I think that's important to find your own style.
For me, I guess it would be learning to use natural light and lighting, and then also finding good photo editing apps. That's one thing that has definitely helped me improve the look of my photos. I'm not that great of a photographer, so mine always need editing.
For me, it was reaching out and talking to other people that I felt had already nailed the staging and gaining tips from them and studying people who inspired me and who I looked up to and how they stage and take the advice that they could give me and work it in my space.
Insightful, isn't it? Listening in to award-winning refinishers talk amongst themselves about the challenges of effective staging. I know many of you are eager to hear the full panel discussion. Hang tight because today's episode will give you that opportunity. Plus, you'll hear the same artist share about their winning pieces from the Zibra Review's June contest theme. We appreciate each of you, and we love this family of refinishers that form our global community of artists. Before we get to this week's show, may we ask a favor of you? We enjoy preparing these podcasts for you each week. The planning, the interviews, and the editing all take a lot of work, but it's been so worth it. We hear from many of you about how much you enjoy these weekly podcasts and how helpful they have been, as well as the relationships that have developed because of them. In order to make sure the podcast continues to grow so our industry gets its proper recognition, would you go to the podcast directory that you listen to, like iTunes, for example, and leave a rating and a written review? These ratings and reviews are huge in moving our podcast to the top so that others will see and become a part of our community. Thank you so much. A few weeks ago, we announced the winners of the June Zibra Review theme of Beachy Blues. Today, we have the privilege of talking with those winners to learn a little more about their victory pieces. We'll also have a discussion panel with them as they discuss the challenges of staging your furniture effectively. As always, let's take a few moments to recognize the 4 judges for the Zibra Review. They are Katie with Katie and Company Furniture Restorations, Lauren with Portland Rose Studio, Keegan with Lemon Drops Reclaimed, and Natalie with Array of Sunlight. We also want to thank our prize sponsors, really terrific group of companies and wonderful prizes, the Real Milk Paint Company, D. Lawless Hardware, Surf Prep Sanding, and of course, Zibra Paintbrushes. Listeners, if you are able to check out these pieces while you listen to the podcast, they are featured on our podcast page for you to enjoy. Just go to thezibrablog.com and click on the podcast. Also, our podcast is now up on YouTube. Simply type in the YouTube search window, Enjoy Zibra. That's Zibra with an I. You'll not only hear today's podcast, but you can also see any related images of work we are discussing along with the artist. Our channel also provides you with several how-tos and project inspirations available to enjoy. Please subscribe as we continue to grow this channel. Okay, let's hear from our winners. We have Sarah with Olive and Fern winning first place, Kate with Little City Farmhouse taking second place, and Crystal with the Local Cupboard scoring third. Congratulations to all 3 of you.
Thank you very much.
So much, Wayne.
Thank you.
Well, this contest was really the entrance into summer with our Beachy Blues theme. Did any of you go to the beach to get some inspiration for your pieces?
I didn't. We don't have a beach around here, so.
That'd be too far for you, wouldn't it, Kate?
Yep. We're in the middle of the prairies.
Yeah. How about Sarah and Crystal?
No, I did not get an opportunity to go to the beach. We don't get to travel often.
Yes, same for me. No beach.
I didn't know if you maybe told your families like, hey, I've got this contest. I need some inspiration. We're heading straight to the beach.
That would have been lovely.
I'm going to try that one next time.
Yeah. Okay. That was a good hint for you.
Do that same theme next. That'd be great.
I know it's a bit challenging with the pandemic. That makes it a little more challenging to travel right now. But maybe I was hoping maybe somebody got to go for some inspiration. Well, let's talk location and weather, of course. Sarah, you live in New York, I believe close to Syracuse?
Yeah, right in Syracuse.
Well, what's the weather like today?
It's been very hot lately. Today, the sun's just coming out. We had some crazy thunderstorms last night, which were amazing. But yeah, it's been pretty hot, like high 80s and 90s. So it's been a little brutal. but not
Yeah.
complaining. Not snow.
Do you guys have high humidity in your area?
Yes, it gets very humid. Been very humid too lately.
I know that's the way it is here in the South. Give us, if you would, a quick update with your shop and your business.
Yeah, so I've been closed for basically since the start of the whole COVID-19 pandemic. So I haven't opened back up yet just because everything's still so up in the air. My space is pretty small, so I've been actually working from home a lot more too, which has been nice, but I'm not sure when I'll be actually opening the shop back up to the public yet. Kind of feeling things out, see how things go.
Because your shop is downtown, correct?
No, it's actually outside of Syracuse. So it's in a very like small town. So it's not, it doesn't get a ton of foot traffic.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we certainly hope the best for you that you can get that back up and running soon. I know it's been hard on a lot of businesses, especially retail spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kate, you are in the big country of Canada. Remind our listeners what part of Canada you live in.
I'm in southern Alberta, in a town about 60,000 people.
My mind is trying to recollect here. Is that anywhere near Calgary?
Yeah, we're about 3 hours southeast. Yeah, so we're pretty close to the Montana border.
Okay, gotcha. So what is the weather like in your area today, this time of year?
Very hot and dry, although we've had a lot of rain. But we're hovering around 30 degrees every day Celsius. So I don't know what that is Fahrenheit.
I'll have to rely on our listeners to pull out their conversion app. One day I'll have that memorized so my brain can compute between Celsius to Fahrenheit.
It's pretty hot.
That's a good way to describe it, right? It's just hot.
Yep, it's just hot.
So how is your business?
It's still going the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
Things aren't too bad here, but we're taking a lot of precautions. So I've been doing mostly contactless deliveries and drop-offs.
Are you doing quite a bit of commission work?
Yeah, I got through a lot of my custom work during the first few months of quarantine, and now I'm starting to do more pieces that I do and then post for sale, just to work through some of my inventory. But we've definitely been taking it a little slower so the kids are home.
Well, Crystal, you aren't too far from where I am in North Carolina. You are in Georgia?
Yes, I'm in Georgia.
Now, were you born and raised in Georgia?
I was born in Atlanta, but was raised in Dahlonega, the North Georgia mountains, and then moved to Cumming about 20 years ago. And that's where I've lived ever since. And it was like a little farming community, and now it's pretty much Atlanta here.
Yeah, Atlanta keeps growing, doesn't it?
It is. We're very, very busy these days here in Cumming.
I could probably share my weather and you'd probably say ditto, but I want to hear what's the weather like in your, our weatherman often says, what's the weather like in your neck of the woods? So what's the weather like in your neck of the woods?
Hot and humid. Yesterday, it was so humid, it felt like it was raining outside, except there was no rain hitting the ground. You would just walk outside and you would just feel damp just because of the humidity. It wasn't fun to work in.
Yeah. Any pieces you painted are probably still wet.
Yes. It takes a long time to dry with the humidity.
I know this time of year, it's just so steamy out. It's like walking into a sauna outdoors. And if I'm not mistaken, today, at least here in North Carolina, is supposed to be the hottest day yet. I think the heat indexes are supposed to be over 100. So, and then when you topple that with high humidities, it's almost, it's actually in some cases, depending on any health issues you have, it's almost dangerous to work out in the weather for a long period of time.
Yes, absolutely. I haven't looked at the heat index for us, but I'm sure we're just, as you said, side by side.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast for the first time, Crystal.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk winning pieces. Crystal won third place with her navy and gold combo dresser. This piece is sharp, and I understand it was a commission piece. Tell us about your winning piece, Crystal.
Yes, it did come in as a commission piece along with a nightstand and desk. And she was unsure what she wanted as far as the color. She wanted kind of like a dark neutral, but she didn't know if she wanted gray. And I said, well, what about navy? Because it's a dark neutral and it pairs well with a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And grays, while they're beautiful, there's just so much variation in them. Like this gray won't go
Yeah.
with that. And so she was like, okay, well, let's do some navy. And then she liked the original hardware, but not the color. And so she liked gold, but she didn't want in-your-face gold. And we decided to paint those or spray them with the champagne mist, which is it's like a sun-kissed gold, I guess. It's just nice.
You talked about the hardware. So this was the original hardware. Was that a process? Like, did you have to go through the process of trying to clean it? Like, what was that like?
Yes, I did. I had to clean them, and I do that in a water vinegar mix, and I boil them, and then I let them sit and use Barkeeper's Friend and scrub them clean. And then I use my surf prep to kind of, I guess, grit them up a little bit more. So that when I prime it, it has a nice grip to it. And then I spray a couple coats and then I seal it.
That's a process in and of itself, just working with the hardware.
It is. It is a process, but it is very rewarding to see where they were and where they are, especially on a completed piece. And they just look completely different.
It's also fun to, when possible, to use the original hardware as well. That's kind of a neat aspect of it.
Yes.
What brand and color of paint did you use?
For the piece itself was Midnight Blue by Fusion Mineral Paint.
Yeah, that's such a cool, deep blue. It's really beautiful. I bet your client is loving the results.
She is. She actually went and bought some more pieces and had me paint them in midnight blue.
Did she?
She did.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at the results that we see here. By the way, Crystal, how long have you been refinishing furniture?
I've only been doing it. I just surpassed 3 years, and I really didn't try and market myself until probably a year after I had really started. And then that's when I opened up to doing commission pieces and really marketing myself to be where I am now.
Well, beautiful results on this piece.
Thank you. I don't have a typical storefront that a lot of other individuals have or booths. I have a room in my house that has direct access outside and a driveway and everything I have a store in my house where I have all my furniture set up for everybody to come and shop. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you don't have to walk too far, drive too far to work then to your shop.
No, except I just have to carry everything upstairs.
Oh no, that's a challenge.
Exhausting. It is.
Well, hopefully you have some good help to do that. Maybe you're just pointing the finger and not doing the lifting.
Yeah, I wish that was the case.
Well, congratulations on winning third. If you would,
Thank you.
Crystal, share your Instagram account so listeners can make sure they follow you.
My Instagram account is The Local Cupboard.
Well, Kate took second place, and I really like the simplicity of this antique server and phenomenal color choice, Kate. Describe your piece and tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. This was an antique server that my mother-in-law had found at a garage sale. So it's quite a low piece. It's just shy of 28 inches high. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. And it actually sat in my house in my family room for quite some time until we kind of like redid our family room. And I thought, okay, it's time to paint this and sell it. So I couldn't decide what color I wanted to paint it, but I knew I wanted to use milk paint to get more of an authentic finish since it was an antique piece. And so I kind of went into my stash of Chateau Interiors milk paint, and I really didn't have enough of anything to paint it with. So I came up with this custom color. So it was a mix of sea glass and harbor blue and sand. And I really love the way it came out. I did use a little bit of bonding agent with this one just because I felt like it was going to chip quite a bit. And I still did get some chippy on it, but most of it is just smooth paint. And then I waxed it to finish it.
Yeah, and just for those folks that are new, possibly in listening and maybe haven't chosen to use milk paint, just so they know, now when they add the bonding agent, it doesn't change the color of the paint, correct?
No, it's just an agent that helps to adhere the paint to
Right.
surfaces that would usually resist paint, ones that maybe have like a polyurethane on them, something a little bit shinier. If you love the feel of milk paint, but you don't want a super chippy finish and you think it might chip off, then you can use the bonding agent.
It really does give you a little more control because it is interesting. I've done a little bit with milk paint, and my first time I used it, I was like, I must have just hit the disaster wall here because it was almost like everything came off.
Yeah, I've done pieces like that before where I spent days painting and it just all fell off.
I know. I remember showing my wife, I was like, you know what? I don't think I did something right here because all the paint's coming off. But, I've seen some pieces though where, a lot of where they did the milk paint, a lot of the paint came off and it was just the right effect for that piece, So, but it is interesting just to see things happen. It's almost like an experiment every time. And so that's kind of a
You
cool
don't know
factor.
what's going to happen, and that's part of the magic of it.
So you took 3 different paints, the Chateau Interiors milk paint, and you came up with this. I guess you've been doing this long enough to know how much you're going to need in order to cover this, because my fear is always like, well, now if I'm going to mix something, what if I don't mix enough? Then I need more paint, and then I mix it again and it's like a whole different tone or shade,
Yeah. So I'm not a great measurer. I kind of just dump and go. But yeah, I kind of think, okay, this is going to use a cup of milk paint, or it's going to use 2 cups of milk paint. So I need to make enough. Usually I try to over mix. So I have a little bit extra in case I do run into any, like it chipped too much or something and I need to redo a certain area. So I like to over mix. And if I have enough left for another project, then bonus, I just seal it up and put it in the fridge.
Now this, I don't see hardware on this piece. Is there hardware in there and I just don't see it?
No, there's no hardware. So that there are 2 drawers in the front, but they just pull out from underneath. There was no hardware on it to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that look.
They're kind of hidden drawers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you use the word smooth, and I think it just overall, from the milk paint to the design, the actual structure of the piece, and to not have hardware in it, it's just a nice mellow looking piece. So that's great. Now,
thank you very much.
You said this was in your home for a while. Is it still in your home, or did you sell it?
I did sell it. It went to one of my very good customers, so I know it's in a happy home.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, hopefully she knows that this was an award-winning piece. Well, top-notch results, Kate. We're really excited to be able to see this piece and talk about it. Share your Instagram account with our listeners.
Thank you very much. My Instagram is Little City Farmhouse.
Okay, Sarah, you won first place. You really went outside the box on creativity with this buffet. It has a nice solid look to the design, but you added an artistic element to it, and you call it the Summer Clouds Buffet. Describe it and tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you. I had no idea what I was going to do with this piece before I started on it. Sometimes, I'll see a piece and you know exactly what you want to do with it, but other times it'll just come to me while working on it. I'm sure the other girls know that all too well. So I knew I wanted to use Seaside, which is by Fusion Mineral Paint. It's a really beautiful, rich blue, and it's just very summery to me. So I did that as the base. And then I knew I wanted to add some sort of abstract design to it and kind of off to one side. And I just started kind of messing around with some white paint, mixing it into the Seaside. I was actually staring out of my window, trying to think of what I wanted to do, and I was watching the clouds, and it was a gorgeous day. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try clouds on here and see how it goes. And I was really happy with how it came out in the end. They're fluffy, and it just really gives me all these summer vibes. So it was really fun to create.
Yeah, now did you the picture that I'm looking at? I can't see the top, but does that cloud, the color that you used to create the cloud, does that wrap around to the top, or does it stop just on the front and side?
Yeah, so it actually is across about 3/4 of the top, and then it does dip onto the side on the right as well. So it's a pretty big cloud structure across the top, and it has lots of different layers to it, so they look very wispy.
Oh, it's really, really nice. Now, did you put a top coat on this piece?
Just over the top of the buffet. Fusion has the built-in top coat, so it's very durable. If you prep it right, it should adhere very well. So usually with buffets, I will put a flat top coat on it just for that extra durability. If, things are sliding across the top, if people are using it as a server. So it has just the extra flat top coat on the very top piece.
So, Sarah, do you still have this piece or has it sold yet?
No, it hasn't sold yet, so it is still available.
Well, I suspect it won't be available very long. This is a beautiful piece. We really love the uniqueness of this buffet. Really nice job. If you would share your Instagram account with our listeners.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is @_oliveandfern_.
Support for this podcast is made possible by Zibra, makers of the Palm Pro paintbrush series. The Palm Pro looks like no other brush you've ever seen. It is designed specifically to fit in the palm of your hands, leveraging your hand's most comfortable position, trading hand fatigue for comfort and control. Exactly what you need when painting any application. The Palm Pro comes in a 2-inch thin filament pack out, which makes it just right for cutting in next to trim, whether on a wall or a furniture piece. It also comes in a 2-inch thick filament pack out, which makes it just right for painting on surfaces like doors, trim, or furniture tops. The Palm Pro is the only brush designed to be an extension of your hand. Well, it's time for our Zebra panel discussion. I really enjoy these segments as it gives you all, the expert refinishers, time to chat on topic with each other. I chime in periodically to ask a question or two, and I know this will be fun and informative for our listening friends. Today, our topic is the challenges of staging furniture effectively. This is a great topic because it's crucial for showing off your pieces and selling them. There are many aspects to staging, and some really struggle with it and would love guidance, inspiration, and honestly want to hear that even though our panelists are great at staging, they likely have their own staging struggles at times. Just as a reminder, no rules here. Our goal is to have a great discussion on topic between the three of you. So, what say you, panel? Take it away.
Yeah, I think the key word there is effectively, how to stage it effectively. I think it's always a struggle.
Yes, and then what works with one piece doesn't work with another piece. If you are inspired by somebody else's piece and how they staged, and you try and not necessarily copy, but put your own twist onto it, sometimes it doesn't work either. And that is where I personally struggle, is I can see what everybody else is doing, and then trying to play that into my own touch, it's difficult for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that staging, it's definitely an art, but it's also very subjective too. So what works for some pieces, it's definitely not going to work for others, like you just said.
You don't want the staging to take away from your piece at all. So it's kind of, you need to find that balance between underdone and overdone, just so the piece is the focal point.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel when something like yours, Kate, your winning piece, where it was more simplistic, you were able to add, a few things into the staging and it all incorporated really well. Whereas mine, I felt like the detail on the piece itself, I didn't want to take away from that. So I essentially just used a plant. So
yeah,
it definitely is striking that balance.
But it worked perfectly. Yeah, some things I tend to overuse just because that's kind of how I decorate my house too. I have a lot of things.
That's exactly the same with me.
Yeah, so I tend to put a lot of things and then I need to subtract out just to find that balance.
And that's the opposite with me, is that my entire house is not decorated. So I don't know how to decorate. All the things that I have for staging is just for staging. It's not anything that I actually use in my home because I'm still learning to do that.
That's the same with me. I definitely have a selection of things that I mainly just use for staging. I will pull a few things here and there for my house, but my house is really eclectic style, so it's kind of all over the place, whereas I feel when you're staging to sell, you want something a little more mainstream and, what's trending at the moment.
Something that gives people an idea of how to use the piece or what the piece will look like in their home.
Yes, that's a huge part, is for people to be able to see it and envision it in their space.
And visualize it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I did, a lot of people I think know Sarah at Setting Pretty Home Decor. I reach out to her a lot as far to get guidance on how to stage effectively and what to do here and what to do there. And she has helped me tremendously, I would say, up my game on all of that.
Yeah, she's awesome. I love her work.
She is.
Yeah. Oftentimes I'll, take a few photos and then I'll send them off. Usually to my sister, I bounce ideas off her and I'll say to her, like, which one catches your eye? Which, is this too empty? Is this too full? How does this look? And sometimes you just need that extra set of eyes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I always do. My cousin Courtney, who does Steel Birch Studios, we're always sending each other unedited staging photos where we're like, something feels off. How does this look? So
yeah, what would you do? Yeah.
The extra set of eyes, especially when you're staring at something for so long. And something will always look off when you've been working, if you spend a while staging it. So it's always good to get a fresh set of eyes.
Sometimes it just works and it's quick. And sometimes I stand there and I feel like I forget how to do this job.
Sometimes it'll take me days and I move the piece out of the staging room and I stop. And then I have to start over another day when I'm like, have a fresh palette.
Fresh idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I was just going to ask you girls, if you ever have issues with staging to show the size or the scale of the piece. Some pieces are hard to relate the size if it's a smaller item or a bigger item in a small little 2x2 photo.
Right.
Yes, and that actually happened very recently with a green ornate dresser that I did. A lady had claimed it, said she wanted it, prepaid everything, came to pick it up, and she thought it was a nightstand size.
Oh,
and
no.
It wasn't. Yeah, she took it in. She loved it. She wanted it. She says, "Oh my gosh, I thought this was a nightstand." So she was excited to see it was a chest, but apparently I didn't get the size over in the picture.
Sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah, I agree. Do you guys have any preferences as far as something that you feel like you often incorporate into your photos? Like, I know I love that scrolling through my Instagram feed, I'll see a photo and there's so many that I'll instantly know who it is because they kind of have that like signature, to their staging. Is there anything that you guys feel that you incorporate often that kind of, is indicative of your brand?
Yeah, I stage a lot. I don't have staging items. I just use things in my house. So I tend to always use plants, and I always have old books in my photos. And I feel like I want my photos to kind of all carry a similar feeling, just so that my brand looks a certain way. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yours is definitely recognizable. Your staging is always impeccable.
Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
I don't think I'm there yet as far as having that signature look or signature piece, as I'm still trying to figure out what works best. But here lately, when I look back at my pictures, I was like, oh my gosh, there's that basket again. So I keep using the same basket and I love it.
That's great though, because people are going to see it and recognize it, and it'll, they'll know who it is. I feel like I'm the same.
Yeah, it takes a while to find that kind of niche where you feel comfortable.
Yes, and I'm very critical about my own stuff, so I always feel like I'm negative towards my own staging, or I'm overusing this or overusing that, and whereas somebody else may not feel that way, and I always have to take a step back and say, just knock it off.
I think we all do that.
Give yourself a break. Yeah. It's okay. It looks good. Looks good.
Yeah, you just kind of got to do it. It's a learning curve, but at the same time, I don't think anybody else picks people's photos apart. It's always like, oh, she did that. That's a really good idea. I really like that.
Yeah, I never feel that way about anybody else's pictures.
Yeah, we're definitely our own worst critics.
I really love, Sarah, that you have a simplicity in your photos that I really love. The piece is always like front and center. I really love that.
Oh, thank you.
And everything just complements it. It just complements it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear, because I definitely struggle with staging. I swear sometimes I'll stage something like 5 different times and I'm just like, why doesn't anything feel right with this? So, but always plants. I feel like that's always a plants and
plants always add life. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, do you use the real plants or do you use faux plants?
I typically use real plants. I have a plant addiction. I think I have about 150.
Oh
Underneath
Oh
my.
the
my.
houseplants, it's out of
Wow.
control. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So there's
Yeah, I love
always lots of
houseplants.
plants to choose from.
I can't keep any of them alive.
It's taken me about 10 years to finally get a green thumb. But yeah, now I've gone a little overboard. It takes me like hours to do my watering.
You have to
Well,
have a
when you
watering
got it, you
day.
got it.
Yeah, no, I have a schedule, a watering schedule. It's
Yep.
crazy.
Yep. Plants are a great thing because they just add that pop of life and a pop of color in your photos.
Yes, and then baskets adding texture, I feel like, is something that really helps too. It
Texture.
adds warmth
Yes.
to it.
Yeah.
Texture was something that I had to learn all about.
Yeah, it adds some depth for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess most people would say that when you're staging, that it really begins with a staging wall or staging background. Would you guys have to say about your staging wall? I mean, do you use the same place every time? And how important is it to have that same place that you use every time you stage your furniture?
I do have a staging wall, and it added a lot of consistency in my photos, and it made it a lot easier, and it's cleaner. And for my flooring, I just have carpet in my house, but it never looked good as far as the variation in colors that I was using for certain items. So I went to Home Depot and got one of their faux wood panels. It's like a 4x8, and I put it down, and so that's my flooring.
That's a great idea.
It adds a whole bunch of consistency. I get a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, I love your floors."
Yeah,
I'm
it looks
so
like real wood.
glad.
It looks amazing.
I'm
Yeah,
so glad.
that's such a great idea.
$20.
Good call.
Yeah, I use my dining room. So I do have to move a few things out of the way, but my dining room is white shiplap. So I find that that's a really good backdrop for me. It kind of goes with my style too. And that's the best place in my house that gets the nicest light. So I think that's really important too, to pick a place that has light because natural light really helps in photos.
Yeah, agreed. And I feel like that's probably for me, it's been the biggest challenge. I have two staging walls basically. I have one at my shop where I have almost no natural light, and I feel like that's where I struggle the most is with the photography lights and trying to not have it too bright or reflective or shadows. And I also work in my garage where the photo of the summer clouds buffet actually that I took, and I have French doors, so I do get really good natural light there. But it's also really helpful to have a consistent space because you get to learn, if you're using natural light, what times of the day are best for snapping the photos, and that definitely helps with the lighting.
Sarah, your backdrop, you said the summer clouds was taken at your home.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got I like the backdrop that you have. It has sort of a geometric look to it, but it's not distracting.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, that's good. That's I actually tried to take it apart. Like, so the people who, finished the garage before we bought the house, they use those beams to cover up the drywall seams. So at first I thought I could take it down, but then I realized that it would be a whole lot of work to fix it up. So I just left it, and I'm glad that it looks good because for a while it was frustrating to try to take a photo with that bar not being really crooked. It definitely, I think now that I've gotten used to photographing that space, it definitely adds like a little bit of character to it.
It really does. Well, let me ask you guys this question with really a closing question, and that is, what has helped you all the most when staging?
I think for me, it's just been practice. You learn over a period of time what works for you and what you like the look of. And I think that's important to find your own style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I guess it would be learning to use natural light in lighting, and then also finding good photo editing apps. That's one thing that has definitely helped me improve the look of my photos. I'm not that great of a photographer, so mine always need editing.
Mine too.
Yeah, mine too. For me, it was reaching out and talking to other people that I felt had already nailed the staging and gaining tips from them and studying people who inspired me and who I looked up to and how they stage, and take the advice that they could give me and work it in my space.
Yeah, there's definitely so many furniture artists out there who are very inspiring. So that always helps to be able to see and get tips from that.
Yeah, and I think listening to you all, and we've had other discussions on our podcast about staging. One of the big things is to not get overwhelmed with it, and to start out small. Just do a few things, and it sort of reflects back on what you said, Sarah, about your Summer Clouds piece. Is that it's a piece that has a little more than just one or two colors. It's got some artistic flair to it, and so you didn't need to do a lot of staging with it. But I would say, from probably most people, from what I've heard and understand, that just try a couple things, because probably the biggest thing, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, but the biggest error that most people make is they just go overboard on it. They do too much.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we've had a great panel discussion today on the challenges of staging furniture effectively. You each have your staging styles, and you carry that through with each piece you showcase. And I know the discussion has been inspiring and helpful for our listeners. A special thank you to all three of you for joining us today to not only share about staging, but also to talk about your winning pieces. So congratulations to all three of you. Stay safe and stay well.
Thank you very much, Lane. You
So
too.
much, Lane.
Thank you. And it was great talking with everybody.
Yeah.
Likewise.
The Zibra Review July 2020 theme of Colors of Your Country is open for entries until July 31st, 2020. The community of refinishers is global. It's international. We thought it would be fun to have you paint your contest entry pieces in at least one color that represents your country's colors. It can also be a multicolored piece if you want to paint it in all the colors of your flag. Use the hashtag #TheZibraReview, and you'll have your piece before a judging panel, as they will choose 3 winners. Great prizes await the winners from Shakto Interiors Milk Paint, D. Lawless Hardware, Surf Prep Sanding, and Zebra Paintbrushes. All pieces refinished from January 2020 to July 31st, 2020 are eligible for entry. Zebra Collective Summer Quarterly Contest is open for entries as well. There are so many ways to illustrate and evoke the summer through furniture design, from vibrant colors to whimsical, cheery themes to natural and tropical vibes. Make sure you tag your pieces with the hashtag Zebra Collective. A huge thank you to our prize sponsors, who range from Fusion Mineral Paint, Steel Birch Botanical Skincare, the Quote House Prints, and our Zebra Paintbrushes. All pieces that were refinished from May 1st, 2020 through July 25th, 2020 may be entered. We can't wait to see all your summer-inspired pieces. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Zebra Blogs Before and After Furniture Refinishing podcast. Today's episode is also featured on the zebrablog.com, along with contact information for today's guest. Your comments and suggestions for future episodes are always welcome, and we encourage you to share those by clicking on the podcast slide in our header at thezebrablog.com. That's zebra with an I blog.com. Thanks for listening. Stay safe and happy refinishing.